Chris Carter here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Reports surfacing that the Steelers are looking to clean house across their coaching staff. What does that mean for what they're doing right now, what it means for the rest of the roster, and what it means moving forward as they continue their head coaching search, that the new candidates that they're supposed to interview, and our picks for the weekend here in the playoffs. It's the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, joined today by Josh Taylor. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show in your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day, because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. As I said before, we're joined by the man himself, Josh Taylor. He's back in from KDKA TV. You know him, you love him. Josh, we've had a lot of whirlwinds today. We it's crazy. I was talking to Jenna Harner earlier today, and I was like, we were talking about all the crazy things that have been happening this week between the coaches, Mike Tomlin being gone. There's already all these coaching candidates that we're trying to learn. And there was a playoff game played on Monday, and I'm like, wasn't there? Yeah, like it's kind of crazy how fast things happen in the NFL.
And the world's a different place, and all it took was 48 hours. It's kind of crazy how quickly all of this changed. But that we're finding out just how the fast-paced life in the NFL is when you're not a part of it. When people like to say you're not about that life. We haven't been about that life in almost 20 years here. So now we're starting to figure out what that fast-paced life is like when some people have to go through that every so often. It's been a couple decades here. So now we're starting to get a taste of that fast-paced life, and now everything is changing, and the world's a different place by the time we get to the end of the week.
20 years ago, I was a senior at Alderdice. Where were you?
20 years ago,
when Mike was hired.
When Mike Tomlin was hired, I was getting ready to go back to school. I was actually out of college already for the first time. I was working as a quality control analyst at Highmark downtown, which is now a block away from the building I currently work in at KDKA TV. So imagine that for full circle. But I ended up going back to school at Duquesne a couple months later after that. I went back for my broadcasting degree and started my career. So Mike Tomlin was the Steelers head coach before I was in broadcasting. If you can wrap your mind around that.
That's pretty wild. But let's get to the topic at hand. My colleague, Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette brought this up. And, Jerry, when he says something, it's coming from a pretty good source inside the organization. He said, quote, "The Steelers have told all of Mike Tomlin's assistant coaches that they are free to pursue other opportunities and won't be retained unless the new head coach wants to rehire them. Per multiple sources, all coaches under contract through the end of February." So they have time. They're not forced out the door, but they can go searching. And we see Arthur Smith searching a lot right now. He's at least interviewed for 3 different teams, or scheduled to interview for 3 different teams. I think that says a lot there. But Josh, whoever the Steelers bring in, and I imagine a new OC, a new DC, because Tara Lawson's contract is up as well. But I do feel like it would behoove the Steelers to keep some of this staff around, because some of these coaches have done a pretty good job. Jaylen Warren was stumping for Eddie Faulkner to stick around, the running backs coach. I personally think you look at that defensive front, the progress of Y.A. Black and Derek Harmon and Keanu Benton. I think it'd be silly to just throw away Carl Dunbar. You look at how the Steelers just keep producing edge rushers. TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and now you got Nick Herbig, and Jack Sawyer had a fantastic rookie season. Why would you get rid of Denzel Martin? And I understand turn some things over, but there's some guys who have been part of a culture. You still have a nucleus here that is fighting, that's been growing. It would behoove, I think, a staff to be able to keep some of those guys along. But I also understand if you're hiring a new head coach, you want to give them the freedom to build the staff that they want. That's where it's going to get really tricky in making these decisions.
The interesting part about this staff is, like, a lot of people are trying to write it off. But here's the thing. There's some youth there, and there's some experience there. There's just one thing that's always bothered me. And people always just kind of write the staff off as some kind of piecemealed ragtag group that was pulled out of nowhere. And I'm like, wait, have you heard about Carl Dunbar's resume? Because
Right.
if you look back at Carl Dunbar's resume over the last 20 years, this is a list of coaches that Carl Dunbar, just himself, as defensive line coaches worked under. Lovie Smith, Brad Childress for about 5 years. And by the way, while he was Brad Childress's defensive line coach, he also worked with some young defensive coordinator kid named Mike Tomlin. Go figure. He also worked with Rex Ryan as Rex Ryan's defensive line coach for 2 different organizations. And then went to work for Nick Saban. Not like Nick Saban before he got to Alabama, while Nick Saban was in the crest of that wave at Alabama. He was working with Nick Saban. Then he went to work for Mike Tomlin. So that's a lot of experience with a lot of coaches, and guy who clearly, and we saw the evidence this year, knows what he's doing. So Carl Dunbar is a guy I look at. Denzel Martin, I think you make a great case. And this is a case that I'll make, and I know we're going to get to the guys that are in the mix down the road, but here's one theory I've had, because Chris Shula's name keeps popping up. And if there's one guy on this staff that I think Chris Shula might keep, it just might be his old boss from when Chris Shula was a defensive coordinator at John Carroll University. Before he went to start working in the NFL, he was at John Carroll. You know who his head coach was at John Carroll? Tom Arth.
Wow.
What
a pull.
You know me, I'm the coach resume pull guy.
You know that.
That might be a possibility. If Chris Shula gets the job, maybe he keeps his old boss around to help him out. That is something that happens in this league. We know it's cyclical. Sometimes guys work under other guys, and they get jobs. They bring their old coach in. That happens. So that's something I'm keeping in mind also. Eddie Faulkner's a guy that I think about. I know that would make a lot of sense. But sometimes you got to think about the obvious guy in the room. You really letting Danny Smith go? As respected of a special teams coach as he is, as much as people outside of Pittsburgh love him as a special teams coach, he even feels like a possibility too. At the same time, you wonder how much longer Danny has at the same time. You know, there's kind of things you kind of think about back and forth. But yeah, there's guys I think that could definitely help this team moving forward and help the staff. Because let's not kid ourselves. A coach isn't walking in with a staff completely listed on paper and having everything filled. And he can't bring all of his friends with him. Sometimes those guys are staying where they're at, or they're looking for other jobs. So sooner or later, a hole has to open up.
The other aspect of this is that you get rid of some of these guys that are part of this. You might be getting rid of some key pieces that have been part of you, that have been playing really well. Like Alex Highsmith, he came up under Denzel Martin. You get rid of Denzel Martin, Highsmith, I think he's tied to the team for another year or two. But maybe this starts to implode other parts of the team and starts making certain guys go different ways. And then you are in the middle of a rebuild. And here's the thing, we've acknowledged, we've talked about, this has been a rebuild the Steelers have been working on. They've been trying to figure some things out. They've been trying to get better here and there. And I think that they've been making progress. But that's the point. They're making progress. The O-line, I said all season long, the biggest key for this team, roster-wise, as far as building it out, you wanted to see the offensive line improve. You did. They took a step up. They played a lot better. They played more coordinated. Yes, they got beat up by the Texans, one of the best defenses in the league at the end of the season, but tremendous progress from what you've seen in recent years. The young defensive players that you've been investing into, Joey Porter Jr., shut down corner now. Keanu Benton, much better of a player. And then even rookies, Derek Harmon, Y.A. Black, and even Jack Sawyer, and you got Nick Herbig. And you got a bunch of young dudes. And I feel like when you got guys like that, you want to keep pushing somewhat with your guys. That's why, again, I think Art Rooney said I was ready for Mike to run it back with another year for Mike, because those cores are developing. So get whoever you think is perfect. We talked about this with Nick Farabaugh, with Alan Saunders, in this coaching search. Who should they prioritize? We'll talk more about 2 of the guys. There are 3 of the guys that we found out that they're interviewing this week. But I think with that prioritizing those guys and who they're trying to interview, I think there should be some wisdom kept that's been part of these the nucleus that they've been developing on either side of the ball, just to help the new head coach, be able to establish with the team, because that was something that Mike benefited from. He had Dick LeBeau, Bruce Arians he promoted him from wide receivers coach to OC. So he had guys that he believed in and that he could lean on. Sean McVay had the same thing when he went to the Rams. He had a lot of older guys around him. If the Steelers, especially if they go with another young coach who is learning the ropes as far as being a head coach, maybe that would be a beneficial thing for them to help them lock in with this roster.
Tony Dungy with the Colts.
Yeah.
What's one of the first things Tony Dungy did when he went to the Colts? He went and got his old college coach, who was also a guy he worked with on the Steelers staff under Chuck Noll. He went and got Tom Moore.
Yep.
And you saw what happened with Tom Moore in that offense in Indianapolis.
Yep.
And I don't care what anybody tells you. Everybody needs an OG. Everybody needs at least that one OG. Everybody has that one OG that they go to. I probably have like 4 in my career, and I happen to work with one of them. But there's something to be said about having somebody that as a resource that can answer some of the questions that you can't answer, but they can also take care of some of the things that you might not be able to take care of, especially if they're on the opposite side of the ball. If you're a defensive coach and you got an older offensive guy that you can go to that can lock this down for you, you don't have to worry about it. Of course, you're going to set it and forget it, and vice versa. So, yeah, there is a value in finding a guy who you use the word wisdom. I just lean on experience. You have a guy who's experienced and just knows where all those hurdles and those landmines you're going to run into, and can maybe help you sidestep or leap over.
I'm right with you there. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the Steelers have listed, or at least it's now reported, that they are going to interview 3 more candidates for the head coaching spot, 2 defensive and an offensive coach. We'll talk about that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Josh Taylor, stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you that this show is brought to you by Ultimate QB. The draft picks positions are set, so many teams are looking for their franchise quarterback. Ever wish you wanted to be a pro quarterback drafted by first overall by the Steelers? Well, now you can, because there's a mobile game just for you called Ultimate QB Football Legend. In this game, you step into the cleats of a number 1 draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness, to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. This is the number 1 quarterback career mode game on the mobile app stores, and it introduces the most realistic environment with full career control. Sign contracts, trade and upgrade yourself, build chemistry and evolve your teammates, give input to your GM on roster moves, play the actual games in 2D, and rise through the ranks to become a pro football legend. You'll deal with the ups and the downs of a QB career, from rookie to nerves to playoff drama, and every choice that shapes your journey. Ultimate QB is totally free to play, has no ads, works 100% offline, perfect for when you want to sneak in a quick game or 2 on the go. Just head over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store, and we've got something special for you guys. Use promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, in the game store, and you'll get a free boost at the start of your career. Ultimate QB, Football Legend QB1. It's your legacy. We're also brought to you by Home Chef. As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work dates, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-proportioned ingredients right to your door, and with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated number 1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease, and it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule, 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. Recipes are simple but feel elevated, even restaurant quality, with dishes co-created by chefs like Gordon Ramsay. Saves time and money. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 per month on groceries. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive the free dessert. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, Chris Carter, Josh Taylor. Josh, we got 3 new names to add to the head coaching mix here. Again, we knew the Steelers would be moving fast, and boy, are they. Let's go over the new names. The big name that I think might be familiar to some old heads that know their Pittsburgh coaching legacies would be Jeff Hafley. He's the Packers defensive coordinator. He's 46 years old. He's a former Pitt DBs coach from the late 2000s. But he's another younger defensive background guy that comes into the mix. They also are set to interview Ejiro Evero, the Panthers defensive coordinator, 45 years old, basically used to work with former Steelers defensive coordinator Dom Capers. He has some connections there. He's a guy that worked under Sean McVay at one point. But then there's also the offensive mind they went and talked to, and it's not the Kubiak everyone thought they'd be talking to, Clint. It's Klay Kubiak, the Niners offensive coordinator. He's 37 years old. This is, I think, his 5th or 6th year coaching in the NFL. But it's an interesting mix here. Kubiak now the second offensive mind when you look at Shieldhouse, that as far as guys that they're looking at here. But Josh, what do you make of these three candidates and how they fit in with who the Steelers have already announced, or well, it's already been reported that they're going to interview?
I had a short list in my head, and the two guys at the top of that list were defensive-minded guys. And the third guy, who was the offensive-minded guy, I'll admit, I had the wrong Kubiak on my list too. I had Clint Kubiak. But you replace it with Klay Kubiak, and you start recalibrating. You start kind of calculating in your mind, and you're going, that San Francisco offense is doing a lot without some key guys right now. They didn't have Brock Purdy for a good chunk of the season, and they were still generating some points. And they were still winning games and staying in the playoff hunt. And you wonder just how much did Klay Kubiak have a role in that? So you probably want to find that out, especially when you have an offense that is probably still going to be trying to piece its way around here for the next year or two. And if Klay Kubiak can figure out some of those things that Kyle Shanahan's been doing to try to get the most out of an offense that might not be tooled as well as some of the other offenses, even in your own division, that might be a rock worth looking under.
Maybe, and that could be something interesting to see there. When you look at what the Niners have put together, they've had an injury riddled season. Their offense, though, finished 10th in scoring, 7th in yards. They had the 5th most passing yards in the NFL. Their run game stalled quite a bit. But there was something there. And again, this is an offense that had Brock Purdy for 9 games. He went 7-2. Mac Jones for 8 games. He went 5-3, and that's how they get to their 12-5 record. So there's something there. But Josh, we've been talking really all week about the potential of if they were to go for if they're going for a head coach. Do you go for the defensive mind or the offensive mind? Ultimately, I've been pushing. Biggest thing you want is a leader, whoever that is. You want the leader of men, CEO type. And there's a lot of defensive guys that I kind of have that kind of a background to kind of be that type of guy.
There's this thing that people have been on for the past few years. You got to go offensive-minded guy. You got to go offensive-minded guy. You got to go great play caller. There's a couple really good play callers looking for jobs that were head coaches previously. Maybe that's not the biggest indicator. Maybe it's not the slam dunk you think it is. I'm with you. Whether he's an offensive or defensive guy, there's a term that gets thrown around a lot with certain coaches. And I think it gets overlooked. Leader of men.
Yeah.
You have to know how to be able to keep grown men motivated. Some of them might be older than you. Some of them might make more than you. But you got to find a way to get the most out of these people and get these people that may be older than you, that may make more than you, that may mean more to the owner than you, to listen to you. That's where leadership comes into play. You can't just know how to look at a play chart and figure out which play to call. Sometimes you got to understand the psyche of how each guy works. What Jimmy Johnson say, he had 53 different guys and he treated them 53 different ways. Mm-hmm. The psychology of being a head coach is not like the psychology of being a play caller. It's not like the psychology of being a position coach. It is a much more upfront, in your face with all 53 faces on that roster and whoever might be on the practice squad and the coaching staff too. So you need somebody who's able to connect with all of those people and keep all those people on the same page. So yeah, it's easy to say, oh, I want a guy who's a great offensive play caller. Okay, that's great. But does he know how to keep a backup guy motivated when he's injured and that guy's thinking about his post-football life already because he may be depressed because he's been injured for 2 months? Can he keep that guy motivated? Can he give that guy the message that he needs to not only keep him in the mindset with the team, but just to keep his life in perspective? Because that happens with players from time to time. Some guys fall on hard times, and it's their coaches who have to be the guys to help pull them out. You need somebody that has some kind of tools in their bag to not only help these guys deal with the plays that are being run on Sunday, but dealing with the other 6 days of the week and dealing with their lives off the field as well.
That's my thing, man, is that you can again, I emphasize this a lot with Nick on yesterday's show, but you can look at this at the priorities that you want, and you still want good schematics, you still want good teaching, but the biggest thing is you want a guy that is a teacher, you want a guy that is the connector to your players and your coaches, because you need that message. It needs to be, they need to be extensions of you, especially when things are being taught, and that's something that Mike Tomlin, I think, had in spades. I think that that's something that this organization benefited from, and I think that's what they're looking for. Art Rooney said we're not pigeonholing ourselves into any type of anything. We're gonna go get who fits us. But to me, the thing that I think they are pigeonholed in for is they want a guy who believes in in leadership and understands the importance of the structure and can fit into the mold of the head coaching role that they see for their organization. I think that that guy's out there, but again, this is where it's going to be interesting. I don't have, I'm not going to pretend that just watching tape of these guys' defenses or offenses are going to be the biggest determining point. It's going to be, how do these guys sell a room? How do these guys get people to buy in? How do they impress in the interview process? Do that? Maybe we got something there.
And all you need to do is to understand that and to get an understanding of how they might be looking is look at each of the last 3 guys they hired.
Yeah.
Look at Chuck Noll. Chuck Noll, people will tell you Chuck Noll might have been more of a teacher than a coach. He may have been more of a teacher than a motivator, but he knew how to at least get guys prepared to know what they needed to know to do what they needed to do. Bill Cowher was a very direct motivator. Ike Taylor would tell you straight up, not only would Bill Cowher motivate you, he'd quiz you in the middle of the meeting room. He'd ask you straight up, this is down the distance. We're at this point. This is for the game. What's your assignment? You had to know it. Then there's Mike Tomlin, who I always used to say, Bill Cowher would quiz you. Mike Tomlin give you the answers to the test. But Mike Tomlin also a guy who was motivator, good at keeping guys motivated, good at keeping guys having perspective, not only with football, but with life as well. So you had 3 guys who probably had different styles with how they led and motivated, but they all motivated, and you saw the results they got in what? How many years has it been? It's getting harder to add up from 1969. Yeah. It's been a while. It's been decades. And that's what we're talking about as far as that success level. I think it's 56 years, if my math is correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about. And when you're doing that 3 times in 56 years, that means you're focusing on the right attributes. You're focusing on the right qualities, and leadership and the ability to motivate and lead men, I think, is important.
I'm right with you. I think that that's the primary component here. We'll keep an eye on that coaching search and how it continues to progress in that. So definitely something that's going to be continuing to watch, Josh. So we'll see who gets added to this list. And I want to bring you back because my man knows his coaching trees. Like there's sometimes I'm scared by who how they're connected.
I stay up way too late looking up way too much stuff. I read too many books. And I listen to too many on tape, and that's how I learn stuff. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone else. I prefer you get sleep. Just don't do it. I'm kidding. But no, it's for me, I love finding out just the history of how things work and how certain teams became what they were and how certain systems and offenses and defenses became what they were. Because that kind of content's out there. You start to learn how different things are woven in just by hearing the different stories and the great stories of the great teams and coaches within this game, because you start getting those pieces together and it starts helping you figure out not only stuff from the past, but how it connects to the present and how even it connects to the future also.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, there are still games to be played. There's still football. We'll get you our picks here on divisional round weekend of the NFL playoffs right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I'll remind you this show is brought to you by Game Time. The NFL playoffs are in full swing, and there's nothing like being at the game. The crowd noise, the energy, cheering alongside other fans. Watching at home is great, but being in the stadium hits different. The frustrating part is always, though, getting the tickets, waiting in queues, dealing with logins, and watching prices change right at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NFL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. You can pull up the Game Time app to check out upcoming NFL games like the Steelers playoff game last week, or you can look at all the games this week. Are you trying to see some Bills playoff games? That's going to be crazy. NFC's got some major showdowns. If you're in those areas, go get your tickets. And here's the thing. Game Time is going to help you because they have so many different ways for you to score those tickets. Zone Deals is a great feature that helps you save money while finding great seats. You pick a section, Game Time will pick the seats, and then you'll save even more. And every time you buy with Game Time, fees are included up front. So the price you see is exactly what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, download the Game Time app, make an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time app today and get back to being there live. We're also brought to you by FanDuel. The divisional round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You play your picks, then apply your profit boosts to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost packs every NFL playoff game day. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, Chris Carter, Josh Taylor. Josh, it's time to get to picks for the weekend here. Did I send you an invite to the bracket pick challenge that we do on ESPN? Did you get in there?
I did, and I actually physically showed my bracket for the last show we did.
That's right.
And I'll have to admit, Saturday I was hot, and then Sunday I was ice cold.
I think we were both the same way. It was kind of rough there. But we're gonna be keeping track of that all along. There are now 154 of you. So congratulations to thank you to everyone who's been there. And we have 5 teams tied for first place right now. We got Panthers fans, Penn State 83s, picks 1, Miami winning the Natty. How about that as a call out? 6-time champs, picks 1, and mopping. I don't know, but all 6 of you guys are leading right now with 300 points. I'm tied with Jenna Harner right now. So how about that? Where are you at, Josh? I was trying to find your picks.
I couldn't even tell you where I am in this group. I'd have to look it up. But man, I just looked it up. 118th place.
All right, so I'm 62. That's a bit farther back.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
My goal is to beat Jenna Harner because
I know. We all know.
We got to do it. Okay. She destroyed me in the regular season, but we move on to the picks here as always.
My money's on Jenna.
Yeah, dang it, Josh. You're supposed to be on my team. What are you doing here? But as always, let's get to the picks. All the odds that we give you here come from FanDuel.com, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. First game, kick it off Saturday. 4:31, the Bills at the Broncos. Big time matchup. The Broncos, though, 1.5-point favorites at home over Josh Allen and the Bills. Josh, who you got?
I had the Broncos before I got the other half of this game wrong, and I had picked the Jaguars, I believe it was, to actually think about this game. I think I had the Jaguars actually going and someone else going to New England. So I had Denver advancing past the Jaguars. I am still going with Denver advancing past the Patriots. And here's why. Because if for no other reason, Denver past the Bills. I got both games jumbled in.
I got you.
Denver going past the Bills. And my reasoning behind it is there's this weird thing about playing at Mile High when you have to play against Denver. And there's this weird thing about Denver's defense just making it really hard for offenses to score while they're there. It's just really, really hard to score in Denver. That's not taking anything away from Josh Allen. It's not taking away from the Bills' offense. Not to mention the fact that Bills' receivers are really banged up right now. It's a couple of the guys that got hurt, some serious injuries on that side. And don't get me wrong, the legend of Josh Allen continues to grow, and he does some amazing things. But you start to wonder how human he is and when that begins to show. And I'm starting to wonder if attrition's going to hurt this offense. I don't know if they can overcome Denver's defense. I think they keep this close. I think they keep a lower scoring, and I think the Broncos outlast the Bills.
I hear you there. I've been back and forth about this a lot. I have not been a big Broncos believer this year. I thought
Me neither.
They have some good wins. I mean, they beat the Texans in a tight one. They beat the Eagles in a tight one. They beat the Packers in a tight one. But I've had my doubts at times just because I was like, I don't know, I'm just not a Bo Nix guy. And then I look back at the Bills and I'm like, okay, they got they lost to the Texans. They've lost to the Patriots, but they beat the Steelers. They beat the Patriots in a rematch. They've beaten the Panthers, another playoff team. I've been going back and forth about this all week, man. But I gotta ride with Josh Allen because he was my guy that I thought he could. I think he can carry. I think the Broncos are absolutely a better team, but I think Josh Allen. This is the year he's got to make a push, man. And if he don't even get to the AFC Championship game, it's going to be rough in Buffalo.
Who was it? Was it Bomani Jones that said this is Josh Allen's no excuse year? I don't think you're wrong. Hey, you picked Josh Allen against me last time, and you got it right. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happened the second time because that man just manages to do so. He manages to do things at times when we don't think he can do things, and it's incredible to watch. So it's a fair pick.
8:01 Saturday night. The Seahawks take on the Niners in Seattle. The Seahawks are 7-point favorites in this game. A wide spread, but the Niners are hurt up. We both got wrong there. We both thought that the Eagles would mop them up last week, but I think this is the week the Seahawks take care of business and they get the job. I will say the Niners probably cover 7-point spread.
I'd agree with that.
I think Seattle at home, I think they've been playing way too well this year.
And they're led by my coach of the year pick in Mike McDonald. I'm sticking with that. I had him pegged in October.
I think that's a good one. But
the way Seattle is playing, they're doing the right things at the right times. They very seldom come unglued. They're very disciplined. They're the NFC equivalent for Indianapolis for me in the first half of the season, where they just kind of kept it almost so efficient that it was almost boring. They tend to do those things right when they need to. Sam Darnold, and we're talking about Sam Darnold on the team in the first round bye, but they're getting it done. I like the way they play defense. They're able to play that nickel personnel against anything you line up with them, and they do well with it. And I think the 49ers just can't overcome it. Talk about another team that's just ravaged with injuries, and now you have George Kittle going into this game. I just feel like it will be too much to overcome. I got the Seahawks.
Moving to Sunday, AFC showdown, Texans at the Patriots, the battle of the red, white, and blues. The Patriots are 3-point favorites at home, which we know home teams get a 3-point boost anyway. So this is seen as a pretty even match by Vegas here. Josh, who you got in this one?
I looked at that spread and said New England -3. That means it's a pick 'em on a neutral site. I think we saw last week in both games, in both the Texans game and the Patriots game, why the Texans are going to win this matchup. I think we saw the Texans defense and just how good they are. And I think we saw with the Patriots offense just how much the Chargers let them off the hook. And the Texans aren't going to let you off the hook. There's no Denny Green in this room. The Texans are what we thought they were, but they're not letting the Patriots off the hook. I think the Texans go into Foxborough and win this thing.
I'm right with you. I think that defense is too tough. I think they're going to get after Drake May. I think they're going to make life hard. All season long, I haven't really been a Patriots guy. I've thought that they've been able to string together a lot of wins. They beat the Bills 31-35. But you look at their last several wins. I think you have to go back to their win over the Bills in October for the time that they beat a playoff team. And so that's where I look at it and I'd be like, I don't know, man. They did a good job last week beating up on a beat up Chargers team. This Texas team ain't beat up. I think they're
not facing a shell-shocked quarterback this time around because Justin Herbert, man, he was seeing shadows by the third quarter.
I agree. I think that they handle their business. Texans find a way to win. So let's go to the final game. Sunday, 6:30, Rams at Bears. Rams are 3.5-point favorites on the road here. Sean McVay versus Ben Johnson. The offensive guru versus offensive guru. Matt Stafford versus Caleb Williams. It's the old versus the new. It's funny now. Now all the old coaches, Harbaugh, Tomlin, all these guys. I guess Harbaugh's with the Giants now, so he's not gone, but you know what I'm saying. But McVay's now up there as one of the more tenured coaches in the NFL, and he faces a rookie head coach in Ben Johnson. Who you got in this one, Josh?
I like the Rams in this one. I like the Rams for one reason and one reason only.
Okay.
The Rams aren't going to do what other teams have done with the Bears, which is get leads and then just let the lead evaporate. The Rams aren't built for that. They're not built to just take the foot off the gas in the second half. They'll get a lead on you, and they can keep that lead because here's the thing: they can do the old Ron Earhart theory. They can throw to score, and they can run to win. And I think that's what they'll do. I don't think they'll give the Bears that much space to make another one of those patented comebacks they've had all year long because it's become a thing in Chicago. Them being the cardiac Bears having to come back. I don't think the Reds give them that much oxygen. I like LA.
In my tournament thing, I had them in the bracket. I had the Bears beating the Eagles because I thought that would be a good matchup for them. But the Rams are there now. I had the Rams playing the Seahawks. I thought the end.
Right.
I had the Seahawks beating the Rams there. But I'm with you. I kind of like Matt Stafford. I kind of like him going into the cold and handling his business and this Rams team playing really well. I think Los Angeles gets the dub here, busting up my bracket a little bit, and it ends up being a Seahawks-Rams rematch for all the marbles in the NFC. While on the flip side, I think I picked the Bills, you picked the Broncos, but we both picked the Texans for a conference championship weekend. Crazy stuff here, but it's been a wild year. I think some more wild games are coming this weekend. That's why you got to get on FanDuel.com, place your bets to see if you can maybe strike off of it.
I'm really curious because we talked about how many teams aren't in this field going in this playoff round. We might see a whole new league, a whole new world by the time we get to conference championship weekend. I think this will be cool.
It will be. Josh, thanks so much for joining us here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let people know they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
Social media, Josh Taylor HD. That's the simplest way. As far as the work I do, 7:30 on KDKA and 10 o'clock on KDKA plus Monday through Friday. That's where you will find me at the news desk. That is normally what I'm doing. Also on TikTok, follow CBS Pittsburgh on TikTok. I have done quite a few videos there over the past couple weeks. It's starting to give me more content to do. Had a really great video that went viral talking about Ravens fans and Steelers fans supporting Tyler Loop, the Ravens kicker, after he missed that field goal, and a bunch of people donated to the John S. Mulholland Family Foundation, which is one of his favorite charities. That video went pretty big, and then another one announcing Mike Tomlin's resignation. So you'll find me on CBS Pittsburgh on TikTok as well.
Absolutely. He's Josh Taylor. I'm Chris Carter. Thanks so much for tuning into the Locked On Steelers podcast. You can follow me on all the social media platforms, same handle everywhere. It's at Carter Critiques. You can read me. I read my work in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by going to post-gazette.com. You can find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, breaking down your Pittsburgh Steelers. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this channel to get all of those daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back here Monday, recapping what happened in both the playoff games and with the Pittsburgh Steelers in their coaching search that continues. See you here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.